Hi, welcome back. This is episode 24. It is almost the end of February. I am by myself. So, if you watched the last one, then you saw me with somebody. And what I discovered is that talking to somebody doesn't really let me get rid of. I can't. I tried to do a braid and I didn't like it. And then I did the hat because I didn't like the braid. Now I'm not gonna do this. So I had the person here, whatever, and she's fun. I like her. But what I discovered is that talking to someone doesn't let me actually unload this shit in my head. And so, um, I don't know. I probably should have done one anyway. And God, it's a minute thing. So yeah, so it's almost March. So in this one, I'm going to talk about some stuff in my life, and then I'm going to do some opinions that I don't think a lot of people would agree with. And then I'm going to talk about how I want to run for president. And that's a literal thing. It's not me being facetious or exaggerating or being weird. I want to run for president. And I don't know how to make it happen with no money. And so I need at some point for someone to take me seriously enough for this shit to go around the internet. And then maybe we can do something. So in any case, life update. I went to a Wizards game. This is not the sweatshirt I wore. I wore a red one, but they played the Charlotte Hornets and they lost. And they lost much worse after we left. We ended up leaving at the end of the third because it was snow and it was actually pretty treacherous getting out of DC. But they lost to the Hornets, and I did not know who LaMelo Ball was because I love basketball, but I don't follow the NBA because anybody who knows his area knows that the Wizards are kind of trash. But I went to a game earlier this season. I had so much fun because the NBA are the best. They're just a party. And then I wanted to go back, so I did. And LaMelo Ball, man, it was bananas. Like the third quarter, he just threes all day, bucket. He passed it to a dude. That guy got a three. Like the man was on fire. 37 points, 10 3-pointers. It was nasty. They lost. But I had a really good time. I really like NBA games. I've been working. Headaches have been not the best. I had one for like 9 days. I don't know. So I'm taking the hormones that I got on, and progesterone is fun. I guess I was low on it, which is why I'm taking it. That thing, it just makes you tired. Like, I knew that I didn't sleep much. I knew that I didn't sleep well. I did not know how much of my tired did not exist until I started taking the progesterone, and it was like, boom. I mean, it is wicked. So I don't know what the testosterone does. The back of my knee is still not super hairy. So, but I'm just going to keep taking them. I go for a checkup on Monday. So we'll see how my numbers are looking. I became a pseudo grandma. So Russ, my best friend, I've known his kids since they were 15 and 12. They are now 23 and 20. This year they'll be 24 and 21. And the older one, Avery, him and his girlfriend got pregnant. And no, I was not happy. Just because, they're young, and she was, 21 at the time. And I get know when you're like a parent, there's just, you just don't want certain things to happen. And so I wasn't excited about it when it happened. But I told Avery when we talked about it, I was like, the one thing I know, no matter what happens, that baby is going to be loved. And so the baby came out, and he is so cute. And I know you'd be like, oh, you love him. He's cute. No, this is a cute baby. I'm the first one to say that not all babies are cute, especially white babies. White babies come out looking like little old men who are trying to die. She had a C-section. Head was not alien form. I mean, he is so cute, and I love him so much. And I didn't get to meet him until yesterday. He was born Monday, so I saw him Wednesday. And so gay. Like, I got pictures of him before I met him. I would just cry. I mean, just like the gayest. Like, I full homered on this kid, and I love him. And I got to hold him yesterday, and I love him. I love this baby. So I can't call him Avery because of Avery. And then, this is going to sound weird, but Junior, Avery said I think he's going to call him Junior. And when I hear him call, like, I'm going to call him Junior, it doesn't feel pretty in my head. Like, I don't know. It doesn't, like, this, the way it sounds and the way it feels in my brain when I hear it, they don't They don't jive. So I'm not going to call him G. I'm thinking maybe I'll call him Aves or Avies, or before he cries, he makes these little baby squeaks. So I might call him Little Squeak. I love his baby. So not my kid by blood, so not my grandkid by blood, but I love him. So I'm not going to take on a name like Mimi or Mama or Grandma. I'm just going to be, it's Kirsten, because I think everyone needs a Kirsten in their life, because why not, right? So I'm a pseudo grandma. And the last time I was on this, I was talking about how Bulldog, Trooper Batman, was in an airplane pillow because he was ripping at his face. Well, he destroyed 2 airplane pillows, so I don't have one anymore. And he had to go to the vet. Turns out I knew he had a hot spot, but it was infected. So he's been on antibiotics and steroids, because of course he has. And then next week, Charlie goes for a checkup for her Cushing. So we will see how that is going. And I think that might be it. Oh, softball starts soon. Softball starts at the end of March. Oh, and I told you how the hormone place wanted me to work out, because I don't know if I did. I think I talked about this, how they did a body scan, and like I don't have much visceral fat, but I do have soft spots because, one, I'm a girl, and two, I like to sit down a lot. And so they told me I needed to work out because, muscle memory and work is not enough. And when they did the scan, I was like, well, what part of me needs to be working out? And I'm like, well, your muscles, basically your legs, which, thank you, they are nice, but also fluff and stuff. So I started doing some little exercise on my arms and my abs or whatever. So look at me go. And then at the end of March, softball starts, and I'm only going to play in 2 leagues this year, but that'll bring in cardio that I'm not going to do cardio. I clean all day. I'm not going to do it, but I am doing like muscle stuff. So maybe this guy that I hate every time I do this, that little flap will go away. So we'll see. So yeah, I'm doing that. So I think that's it. I think that's my life. So the Olympics happened, and these are some of those opinions, like hot takes. I hate when people call things hot takes. It's like when people like low key. It's not low key, it's high key. If it was low key, whatever. So the Olympics happened, and I watched some of it. A lot of it's during the day and you work. So like I caught the end of the women's gold medal hockey game because I just sat down, I turned it on, and I caught them tying it, and I caught them winning it. And I mean, I sat down a minute before they tied the game, and it was unreal. And then I actually got to watch the entirety of the men's gold medal game, and that was great. So after their game, Cash Patel went into the locker room because he is a tryhard, which I hate a tryhard. And then with his phone, I guess he called Donald Trump. Donald Trump called the boys, and Donald Trump made a really annoying comment about how he was going to have to invite the girls to the White House or he'd get in trouble for it. Our women's hockey is better than our men's. It's just categorical. And I mean, I'm not saying that our men are bad. They won the gold medal, but of the 8 Olympic games since women's hockey got brought in, they have medaled. 3 of those 8, they have taken the gold. The other 5 were to Canada, because it's always been between Canada and the United States. The 5 that they didn't win the gold, 4 they got silver, 1 they got bronze. Our men have not gotten a gold in 46 years. Our women got one 8 years ago. So, I mean, they are just a stronger team. It's like the women won a World Cup for the USA, the men did not. Our women in some categories, our USA teams are just stronger. So, making that comment is nasty. And, but Trump hates women. And I know this. Everybody knows this. The way he talks to reporters, he has assaulted, harassed, raped women, possibly children, girls. I mean, like, he does not like women. You can hear it. Quiet, piggy. I mean, like, he's just gross. So he makes the comment, and my issue with what happened in that locker room is just that the men laughed. And it's the same way that I don't like it when a man beats women and he has friends. Because you can say that you would never hit a girl. Like, you'd never be the guy that beats a woman, but then you hang out with the guy that beats women. So you're teaching him that his behavior is okay because you don't stand up. You know what I mean? Like, but there's this whole narrative now. One, this pissed me off because not everything needs to be nuanced like this. And so there's this whole thing about how, like the right is against trans people, and Donald Trump has done some legislation and whatever. But I stand by my statement that before, when I was younger, life was better because everybody's business was not everybody's business. That whole don't wash your dirty laundry in public thing, that mattered, right? So like, if you were transsexual, we called them trannies. No one was offended. So if you were transsexual back in the 90s or whatever, nobody cared. Because it wasn't my business. If you weren't racist, if you weren't beating someone, if you weren't getting arrested, if you weren't doing the things, then everybody held all the ignorance inside of them because you weren't allowed to put that shit in public. So like, literally, everybody's like, social media did this thing where everybody thinks they're so important, right? So that all of their things that happen have to be everybody's business and has to be accepted. I don't have to accept shit. That's ridiculous. I have to live my life. My life has to be acceptable to me. But we have this idea now that, like, because of social media, I did this, accept it. Well, that's ignorant as shit. But so there is a narrative against trans people. Well, what do they do when this comment is made by Donald Trump? He talks about protecting women's sports from trans people, and look at what he says. He doesn't care about women's sports at all. Well, one, no, the man obviously does not care about women's sports, period, because he doesn't like women. But two, trans people for him are a talking point for his base, for voting. Shut up about it. This had nothing to do with trans women. It was just him being a misogynistic asshole who doesn't like women, mocking women's hockey. That's it. It had nothing to do with trans women. And the boys in the locker room, look, one, a lot of them are super young, but two, they did the thing that men do. Charlie, she's licking my butt. It's not licks. So they did the thing that boys do, where boys make a joke and boys laugh. It's just what they do. And it doesn't mean they hate women's hockey. It doesn't mean that they weren't supportive of them. It doesn't mean that they're Republicans and pro-Trump and MAGA. It means that they were on the phone with the President of the United States right after they won a gold medal. They were hyped, and that man came in. And, you know, it's hard because I loathe the man because of what he does to women, and I've never liked him. I didn't like him when he was on The Apprentice. I have never liked this man. He's just not a good man, and I don't like the way that he talks. I didn't like him when he was, "You're fired." I didn't like him. So this does not change anything for me. But especially if you're a man, I think it's a little bit different, probably because I've been raped and I see a rapist. Ugh. So they were on the phone with the president. I mean, there's this whole narrative now that they're bad people because they laughed. It's the problem in that locker room was Donald Trump. It was him. It was just him. The boys laughed. They shouldn't have done that. In my opinion, what they should have done is just gotten quiet and shown that it wasn't funny. Two of them at least made comments backing up that the women won gold, like the 2 for 2, like there were people in the background. But my opinion, the only thing they did wrong was they laughed. They weren't unsupportive. They aren't MAGA. You know, it doesn't, people take this narrative and they run with it because they have to make a political talking point out of fucking everything. The only talking point is that Donald Trump is a pig and he doesn't like women. And there's your talking point. And I just hate that the left has to do this. I hate that they brought in trans sports. One, because trans people need their own sport league for competitive sports. That just needs to happen. They need their own league. Trans men and trans women can play in the league. They just need their own competitive league. But I hate the way they villainized the men hockey player, and I hate the way they brought in transport. They politicized the whole fucking thing, and it was dumb. It was just dumb. And this is why the woke left bothers me so much, because it was just him being an asshole. It was just Trump being an asshole. So the other thing that's been bothering me recently is Biden was president and they talked about Hunter and his drugs because Hunter was clean. People got real mad on the left that they had the audacity to talk about his drug addiction, right? The audacity to bring up his child's drug addiction. So RFK, who I cannot stand, I loathe this man. I loathe him. I think that he is one of the biggest dangers to this society because he fills our health industry with bullshit and he makes people sick with his propaganda and his money mongering, because what he is doing is he is filling the coffers of the wellness industry, which, by the way, people that are out there going big pharma, all their money, they're unregulated. First of all, the FDA regulates everything that happens in big pharma. And yes, they have done shady shit, awful things. However, they are regulated by the FDA. And the wellness industry is worth more money than big pharma, and none of it is regulated. The FDA actually got voted to not be able to regulate it. So tell me again. But RFK, he did heroin. He's a heroin addict. He does not do heroin anymore. That is a fact. The man did heroin years ago. He does not do heroin anymore. I wonder what would have happened to this country if he had just died. So, in any case, he does not do heroin anymore. And I hate it when people reference this man and they talk about how a man who did heroin has opinions. I am not the sum of my mistakes in my past. I drank for 20 years. I have been sober now for 7 and almost a half years. And if someone said that I was just an alcoholic, I'd be furious, because my decisions prior do not denote who I am today if I change my life. And he changed his life. So to constantly drop that he did heroin, find a different narrative. You had this whole vitriolic. You were angry when Hunter was mentioned and his drug addiction, his crack. And that boy did crack, whatever. It was, you can't talk about that, and how dare you, and all this shit, and you go after that man who's been clean for a very long time off heroin. I'm not talking about ketamine, what the fuck ever. Oh, that's Elon. In any case, no, you hypocritical piece of shit. And I do not like anything less than hypocrisy. That's why I have so many problems with the MAGA, the reasons for voting for Trump, and none of them are true today. The other thing they're doing with him is he did a podcast with Theo Vaughn, and I didn't like that podcast because Theo didn't hold him to the fire, and fucking that man had lawsuits against Monsanto because their products poison people so that they get cancer, and he had nothing to say about the fact that we are now, it is being promoted that we need to make these pesticides that will cause cancer. It's God, it's gross what they're doing. So he made a comment in that podcast. They were talking about COVID and NA meetings. And he said, he was like, I did cocaine off of toilet seats. I am not afraid of a virus because he did cocaine off toilet seats. First of all, I think he misspoke. He probably did it off the tank, like the rest of us did it off the tank, right? But he was talking about how he didn't want to not go to meetings during COVID. He wasn't afraid of COVID. He had done all the drugs. He had put so much shit in his body that he wasn't afraid of COVID. I heard that narrative from countless people at NA and AA. Now, my issue with it was that the rest of the world shut down and social distanced and did all the things that we were supposed to, but AA and NA and other, alcohol anonymous thought that because we're addicts and whatever that we deserved meetings. And I don't think I'm that special. Now, I did have meetings in my backyard. They started small as like 10 people. As, do you see this? It's really annoying me. Like, so as the restrictions lessened, I was able to allow more people in my backyard. But I didn't have this opinion that I was just allowed to do something because I was an alcoholic. And that is what annoys me about that statement. Because people thought that they just deserved to have meetings. And we did have Zoom meetings, and those are... but that was what he was talking about. And now it's just, this guy talking about how he's done drugs off of toilet seats. Context. If we learned anything from Charlie Kirk, context. So, those are my hot takes. I just defended the male hockey team that everybody's reaching for right now. And then I defended RFK, which I never thought I would do. So I want to run for president. And I know that sounds so nuts. It sounds so nuts. But our politics are a mess. And at this point, it really just seems that it really is just one group of people. They're all the same, Democrats, Republicans, right? They pretend. They keep us separated on the outside so they can spin their webs and create the dissidents and do what they want working together in fucking the American people, because all of their decisions hurt the bottom. It's so funny having that mirror there. She is nesting again because it's their decision. Oh my God, it's so funny looking back, right? Because their decisions don't help us, and some try. But at the core of what happens in the politics, it really is the top just pushing us down all the way to the bottom, right? And I've decided recently, like, the narrative that socialism is bad is, I don't want to be a socialist, right? Capitalism is important because people are lazy. Charlie, I see you. I think that it is important for people to know that they can work hard and earn things. I think it's important because some people really are lazy. And if we all just shared a pot, I worked at a restaurant where we pulled tips, right? So like I waited at a table, you waited at a table, we would split our 2 tables worth of tips. And if you were on a shift with someone who worked hard, it wasn't bad because you knew that you guys were both going to pull good tips. And so splitting it wasn't terrible. But if you were on a shift with someone, I swear to God, dog, if you were on a shift with someone who just didn't work that hard, then you were earning all the money and having to give half of it to them. And that is really annoying. And that is socialism, right? So they created a narrative, the top, the rich, that when we use our tax dollars for us, it's socialism. And as I've said on this before, that's not true. It's social programs, right? Like Norway is supposed to be the best place to live, and they have their healthcare, and they have universal healthcare, and they have free college, and then the women get like 49 weeks of maternity leave when they have a baby, right? Almost a full year. And all of these things come out of their taxes. And I don't know what their tax percentage is, but it might be higher than ours. It depends on what bracket you're in here. What people don't necessarily understand is that one, that's it. That's what they pay. They pay their taxes and that is it. So it's not like you pay your taxes and you got to go buy books for college. College is paid for. You don't have to pay for the dorms. College is paid for. You don't have to pay for your doctor's appointment with a copay. It's paid for. You don't have to pay for your pharmaceuticals. It's paid for. You don't have the what is it you have to meet when deductible. They don't have a deductible. It's paid for. If they have cancer and they get chemo, it's paid for. They don't ever have to pay another dime. It's paid for. You have a baby, it's free. It's paid for. All of this stuff is paid for, and there's not another charge. On top of that, they still have capitalism. You still get to work a job. You still get to earn more money than your neighbor if you want to. It's not like they stopped doing that. They just base their taxes around social programs, which we do not. Where do our taxes go? They go to Israel. Tricksy, because you know what they have? They have social programs that give them free healthcare and free college. So again, they're teaching us that the social programs that we should be paying into are socialism. And then you hear the word socialism, you're automatically like, communists. And communism didn't work and doesn't work because what ends up happening is a person at the top, I mean, they reap all the benefits and they take all the money. So everybody, like the rice paddies, right? You got the people in the rice paddies and they're making all the rice. They're pulling all the rice and then they're starving, right? But the guy at the top who's selling all the rice, he's got all the fucking money. Communism is not the best idea because generally what happens is you got the cult leader at the top and then trickle down economics. So the people at the bottom are poor and starving, but the people at the top. We should have our tax dollars working for us. Period. We should have universal health care. We should have free college. We pay so much money into taxes. Where does it go? It goes to, God, they're going to start a war with Iran. And I'm so angry about this because one, it's Israel's war. They just want regime change. Two, if they say that it is because of their nuclear program, I thought we destroyed it in the 12-day war. You said that. You're a liar. If they say it's because of ballistic missiles, their ballistic missiles are not international. They're not going to reach us, but you know who those ballistic missiles would reach? They'd reach Israel. They'd reach Israel. And the whole problem with our enrichment process right now is we had a little treaty set up with them on not enriching their nuclear program past a certain amount. We had that. And we had a whole treaty with them. And Trump overturned it when he got into office. So we've been doing all of this for why? For why? Right? And I have this theory now because they keep talking the AI and the data centers. I have this theory because when Trump was elected, he was supposed to help the farmers. So many farmers voted for this man thinking that he was going to help them, even though Biden had already set up a program that was in fact helping them. And what did Trump do? He overturned it immediately because he doesn't like Biden. So I'm calling them Big Pharma, but with an F instead of a PH now. So Big Farm. I guess it's just Big Farm. So Big Farm, I think is going to take over the country. I think that what they are actually doing is because now we're getting all of our beef from like Argentina and none of the soy has been sold. China said they were going to buy some. China's bought no soy. So all of our soy farmers got fucked. Our cattle is now coming from South America. I think that they are trying to starve out the small farms so that they have to declare bankruptcy and sell. So there's more land available for the data centers. And if they don't have these farms competing with them, then who's going to complain about the water or the methane plants that Elon is doing, polluting the air in Tennessee and hopefully Mississippi? And they have overturned clean air, the Clean Air Act. They have, I'm 99% sure that they have taken that down. Not like all the way, but they've lessened it so you can pollute now. Same with the clean water. I mean, they've got those, they've added more forever chemicals, like this whole Maha movement where he was like, we're going to get rid of the dyes. No, they're not. They're going to say they are. They've talked about the dyes. They're not getting rid of anything. And then they cut SNAP programs, money for food for the poor, right? And then they go, but they can't buy Oreos or soda. Can't buy that stuff. Can't buy processed food. I listened to RFK say on a podcast, if you have any advice, and he goes, yes, eat meat and vegetables and fruit. Be healthy. It is expensive, and grocery prices have not gone down. And people that are poor and have families cannot afford a ton of groceries that are meat and fruit and vegetables. It's too fucking expensive. And you're not helping them with any of that. You're just saying, don't eat that. You'll be fat and unhealthy. They can afford the fucking processed food. It's what they can eat. Why do you think Hamburger Helper was so big as kids? Because it was cheap. You can't tell people to eat healthy when it's hundreds of dollars to go to the grocery store for less than a week of food. Because I buy the healthy food. I let it rot in my fridge because ADHD is still not letting me cook. But that's what happens is I end up with maybe 2 grocery bags full of food, maybe, and it's almost $200. It's expensive. I live alone. And it's expensive. So you can't just tell people, eat this stuff, it's healthy and you'll feel better, because they can't fucking afford it. And we're ripping them off. And that's another thing, right? They just told Minnesota they're not going to give them their Medicaid funds because they're looking for fraud. Well, the Medicaid fund or fraud, Medicare fraud, Mississippi. Brett Favre is connected to that. That was Mississippi. There's fraud in every state, and I know that. But for fuck's sake, cutting off the Medicaid to an entire state. And my favorite part about that, it's the same way that Western Maryland had flooding, right? I think it was right after Trump got elected. They haven't gotten their FEMA money. They've never gotten their FEMA money. West Virginia, right across the state line, did. Well, West Virginia's a red state, so they got their FEMA money. Maryland never did. It's our money. It's our taxes. All this money that they say you can't have, it's our fucking money. I said this months ago on this podcast. Stop paying taxes. 1, taxation without representation, massively. 2, paying for pedophiles. Literally, something happens in this country where you need money and you don't have access to it. That's the other thing that baffles me, right? Is like, we have paid into these systems, and then when they cut out the funds, people are like, yeah, fuck those guys. You're poor and you're working, you're still paying taxes. Medicaid is given to people who work. You are paying for it. And it's not like they give you anything for Medicaid. You go to the doctor and it doesn't cost you anything. It's not like you sit around and you collect Medicaid checks. That's not real. It's just you go to the doctor and it doesn't cost anything. And a lot of it goes to kids. It is amazing to me that we look at these situations and go, yeah, fuck that. They pay for it too. They pay taxes. They pay taxes. This administration, I was talking to a buddy about this the other day, and what they are doing. 1, good job on shutting down the border. That was necessary. 2, is the only other thing I'm going to give them. At least they're wearing all of their corruption on the outside of their pants. Everything they do that's corrupt, we get to watch it. Now, is any of it getting stopped? No. But it's all happening on the outside. So at least there's that, right? But I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want, when it comes to the midterms or the primary, the DNC, so the guy who might, because, I mean, again, we've got a 2-party system, right? That's it. They only talk about the Democrats and the Republicans. They're going to feed us a candidate. We don't get a choice. They're going to pick through a list of Democrats and be like, here are your options for who is president. And they're all going to be lifetime politicians, and they're probably rich, and they're not us. They're not us. So someone said to me when I was like, we need to do something else. Start a 3rd party or whatever, but we need to do something else. And I, nothing is going to change. We can't do anything. We fucking can't. We can't. We have to vote somebody else in. Vote me in. I want to run for president. I've got ideas. I looked it up today. Do you know, I wrote notes on this. Do you know that yearly we spend boop, 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 $2.5 billion in printing and document management. $2.5 billion on paper. Why? It is 2026 and everything is digital. I mean, Pete Hegseth is mad because he hasn't been given the AI rights to just bomb people in his sleep. $2.5 billion on paper. That money could go somewhere else. We spend $7 billion a year on office space. And what did we learn during COVID? That most of our workforce can work from home. I literally just found $9.5 billion. 9.5. Now I know that some of those buildings will have to be used. I know I'm not ridiculous. I know that we would have to actually put some people out in buildings. They can't all work from home. However, $9.5 billion. Now, I didn't have to fire anybody, Doge. I didn't have to blanket wipe out an entire project that saved lives in Africa, USAI goddamn D. You can find the money. It's the movie Dave. I swear to God, I've talked about this on this before 100%. He goes in and he wants to save the homeless shelter. And what does he do? He sits down with an accountant. He says, I need this amount of money. Find it. And he goes through line item by line item of what they are spending their money on. And he finds the money to save the homeless shelter. We don't have to fuck the people underneath us to find the money. Rand Paul has this brilliant idea that if we help me become president, I will do. Where he was talking about immigration with Joe Rogan. I don't like a lot of what Rand Paul had to say. However, I do like the fact that he said, you take the immigrants that have been here 10 years plus, maybe 5 years plus, and you just make them legal residents, not citizens. They cannot vote. They do not get Social Security. They do not get benefits, but they pay into our tax system and their children get to be citizens. Because all these people want is better for their children. It's a large reason why most of them came here, is to better for their children. And then they don't get kicked out of the country. We keep our workforce. We still add into the taxes and Social Security and all the things they were already paying for, but they can't vote, which is what everybody's so fucking worried about. And it's not like they care that much about that anyways, because they've been here for so long in a system that doesn't make it easy to become a citizen, and they haven't fought to do so. Allow them to stay, keep families together, stop brutalizing people in the streets, keep our workforce in the area where people aren't willing to do the jobs. Because if we're honest about it, we don't want to do the jobs. And those companies aren't going to pay what people should make. But they don't get to be citizens. They don't get to vote. So much is solved in that. Women keep dying because of the abortion laws in this country, right? I would come in and I wouldn't change the abortion laws. States get to make a choice. However, I would immediately say, stop letting the women die. That's it. You cannot have babies if the women who can make them keep dying. And the women who are pregnant and die often have families that they're leaving behind because they can't get the care they need when they are miscarrying. Women have to stop dying. I am not saying you have to change your abortion laws, but you have to stop letting the women die. That's it. Just stop letting the women die. I am so mad about this Iranian war we're going to go into for Israel. We cut funding to the VA. We cut funding for veterans and active duty members of the military. Because of course we did, for their medical care and mental health care. We, after Iraq and Afghanistan, 22 a day, 22 soldiers kill themselves a day. That's still a thing. PTSD is very, very real. And after we've cut the funding and we were told no more forever wars, we are now looking at another forever war because of Israel, because they want regime change. This doesn't make me an anti-Semite. It's just true. That shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. We have the capabilities as a country to help people when they need the help, like USAID, where we sent medication over to Africa for HIV and tuberculosis, and we sent food to the Sudan, where people are getting mass murdered. Notice how we're not talking about stepping into Sudan to save their people and do a regime change there, because we don't do that. We didn't step into Gaza and they mass murdered. It was a genocide. God, I want to make an entire cabinet smarter than me. I want the Department of Agriculture to be run by a farmer. I have a client who is a teacher at Hood College here in Frederick. She teaches how to be a teacher, Department of Education. My ex-husband is a bioengineer. He handled Ebola outbreaks in Sierra Leone and Liberia when we were married. head of the CDC. I would surround myself with people smarter than me, who knew more than me, and who were willing to look me in the face and say, no, I only want to be president for 4 years. I want to get in and do as much as I can to help as many people as possible and set up a process where we are fighting for the difference in our politics. I want term limits on everybody. I want 4 years a term, 2 terms maximum. Congress and Senate is done. Supreme Court, maximum. I would say maybe 10 years. And I want an age limit. If the retiring age, shut up, Dr. Oz, trying to get us to work longer, the retirement age is 65. Get out of our government at 65. You should not be past the retirement age at 65. My IRA that I've had since I was like 21, I don't know. I worked a job right out of college for like 2 years. So I was maybe 21 or 22 when I started there. It's got $3,000 in it. It's the most it's ever had right now at $3,000. I do not touch it. Edward Jones handles it. I do not add money. I do not do anything with it. I just have an IRA of $3,000. That's my retirement plan. I know that Donald Trump mentioned this in his State of the Union the other night where he was talking about how amazing he is. If it had not happened in the rest of his term, no more trading in Congress. None. And that includes the people that work for him, though, because Howard Lutnick's entire family just got real rich off of these tariffs. Gross. Gross. I think a big part of the problem of what we have right now is just branding, right? People had a problem with Hunter Biden making money when his dad was president. The Trumps have made like $1 billion off of this presidency in 1 year. $1 billion. If that was anyone in Biden's family, the Republicans would be on one. But because it is Trump, they don't see it, right? We were told that Kamala was going to get us into a war with Iran. We were 100% told that. And now you want to go to war with Iran. The farmers who got fucked by the tariffs, who have not had any of their crops sold, who had to get a bailout from the government. That bailout that you're okay with them getting is the same thing. Like, we're okay with some people getting bailed out, but not others, right? But what I do know is that our money does not work for us. I know that when the banks caused a housing crisis, the banks caused that crisis. They sold houses to people at a rate that they could not sustain, and they sold them to people who could not afford the houses. So what happened in 2008? The housing market went belly up, right? And all these people got foreclosed on and lost their houses, short sales all across the board. This country got decimated by that housing crisis, and it ruined people's lives, but not the banks that caused the entire problem. We bailed out the banks. Just like we bailed out the airlines. I've talked about this before. When the airlines went bankrupt, they didn't give back the pensions to the people that worked for the airlines. They bailed out the airlines. It's our fucking money. It's our money. And it does nothing for us. And they constantly use it to bail out their rich friends. It's always the fucking rich. It's always top to bottom. Big fuck small. They do it over and over and over again. And on top of that, with the Epstein files, they're not only fucking us proverbially, theoretically, monetarily. I don't know if proverbial is the right word there, but they're not only fucking us monetarily, they're literally taking kids that won't say anything because they're poor, and they're literally fucking them, and they're getting away with it. And they're murdering them. They're trafficking them. And within this network, it's also a whole bunch of financial insider trading and all sorts of other corrupt shit. If we can figure out a way to make me president, one of my executive orders, tax the fucking churches. Tax them all. Because they have been bleeding our people dry, especially the poor. They bleed them dry for their dollars. They live these high lives. I went to a church in Frederick. It's a hate monger church. But also, I walked in one time to hear a friend of mine sing. I didn't like this church. I'll never go back to this church. This church is against homosexuality, transgenderism, and promiscuity. So I won't go back. But I walked in, and they had a gift shop. They had a gift shop and a coffee shop. You're not a church. You're not a church or a corporation. And this is about the dollar. And that place doesn't pay taxes. It doesn't pay taxes. That's ridiculous. And a lot of the churches have been fucking children for their in perpetuity, and they don't pay taxes. So you get to rape our kids and you don't pay taxes. You are a fucking pedophile and a thief. Pay up. It is time. Pay up. They have bled our people dry forever. It is time that they pay their goddamn dues. And it would be equal. I swear to God, you just make it equal. Everybody pays a fair share, but everybody fucking pays. And we figure out a way. And again, I need people smarter than me. Like when it comes to the healthcare that we should all have, I would meet with someone in Norway and I would figure this shit out. And if the healthcare system's bucked, I would buck right the fuck back. Because I'm only in that presidency for 4 fucking years. I don't care. I don't need to be the nice girl who's nice to the rich people. I don't care about money. The only goal I have in life is to rescue dogs. At some point in this little life, I'm going to figure out a way to get a bunch of land and save as many dogs as possible. And that's all I want to do. But I would do something that doesn't sound that great, like trying to be president for 4 years to help as much as I could, because they have fed us a narrative that we are all against each other. I've watched what the people in Minnesota have done, and that is everybody standing up for each other. I watched a man who's never been to a protest go and protest because he watched a video of Hispanic children running away from a bus stop in fear of police and ICE because they were there. And he said, I've never protested before, but our children should, well, this is New Jersey, but he said, our children should not be afraid of police. 4th and 5th graders. And he cried when he said it. And I watched videos. God, the man who he self-deported because he didn't want to be locked in a detention center, a concentration camp. Not all concentration camps were death camps. I need you to know that. So when people say, how dare you? How dare you? They aren't killing anybody. 1, yet. 2, it's so fun. Loud in here. 2, not everybody. Not every camp was a murder camp. Dachau was, and in the end, they all were because they were trying to burn the evidence. But they had work camps. I don't even think these people work in there. Locked in cages with too many people, 1 toilet, no showers, no food, no change of clothes. It's awful. But this man self-deported to avoid that. And before he did that, when he noticed his neighbors going missing, he went into their apartments and he grabbed their dogs. And he had a dog. And he took 9 dogs that were not his and 1 dog that was his. And he took those dogs to a pet rescue because he knew those dogs would die. Because it isn't about criminals, and it isn't about deporting people. It's about brutality, and it is about cruelty. And they're taking children, and there's a dog in Minneapolis. This is actually Minneapolis, and the winter in Minneapolis was cold as fuck, right? So cold. And when they grabbed the guy, they left his dog in his car, and it was impounded. And that dog stayed alive in that impound because he was in a car with blankets and a ton of food. Like the guy was dirty, and he left some fast food remnants. And that dog was alone for a month and it stayed alive. And that is cruelty because they aren't just ruining the lives of people. They're leaving behind pets. And they take you when your family doesn't know that you're gone. They take you when your animals don't know that you're gone. They dropped a blind man off on the other side of town in Minneapolis. Nope, Buffalo. And he froze to death and he died because he didn't speak English and he didn't know how to get home because he was blind. End that shit. Immigration reform, 100%. Do we need reform? 100%. But do we need to be the cruelest people on the planet that forget that humans are humans and that it directly affects a whole bunch of other shit, including dogs and cats? And we are supposed to be the good guys. And I want to get in there and help us be the good guys. So I got to figure out how to do this. And if anybody out there can help me do this, I want to do this. And why not it be me? Because I am a normal human being who doesn't care about any of the shit that I cannot be bought. And all my shit is already on the internet. You can go through any of these podcasts and you will hear about my bullshit. I loved alcohol. I loved cigarettes. I've done a ton of drugs. I have had sex with way too many people. I have cheated. I shoplifted as a child. I didn't finish my bachelor's degree, but I have 2 associate's degrees. But I surround myself with people who make me grow and who make me smarter and make me better. And I would surround myself as a president with a ton of people who only cared about making this country actually work for the people at the bottom. None of them would be rich. Not fucking one. I'm actually bringing someone who knows what they're doing. I don't know. Someone add that I like Massey, I like Ro Khanna, and I like Bernie. I want to do this. I want to figure out how to do this with no money. I want to figure out how to do this without the APAC buying me, because I wouldn't have billions of dollars to fucking put into commercials. I want to figure out how to do this. I think that if we could get someone in there who just wanted to do good, it would be unreal. And I'm covered in tattoos and I wouldn't wear a pantsuit and I'd have to watch my mouth at all times because clearly sometimes I get a little Tourette. But I'm honest. God, and I wouldn't use the presidency to make money. I mean, I would take my, what is it called when you get paid money? I would take my salary, but I wouldn't make money. I mean, again, $3,000 in an Edward Jones account. That's my entire IRA. I have no retirement. I just want to save dogs. But this country needs something. And I always hear these podcasters talk about everybody, right? Someone's got to be brave. None of these people are going to do this. Like, someone has to be brave enough to say, I'm willing to try. And what if, I mean, if it doesn't go anywhere, that just makes sense. Because how the fuck would I win president at 44 years old living in Maryland, right? And having no platform or anything or nobody knowing me. But what if me just trying sparked something? It sparked something in this country where people decided that we didn't have to live in a system where two parties that are the exact same and feed us bullshit that separates us at all times and makes us infight, so that we can't just come together and say that is enough and you are abusing all of us and you are using all of us and you are sucking us dry like vampires, and then asking for more and saying we can't get enough. I can't raise the minimum wage because then I'd have to raise the prices on my stuff, or I'd have to lay people off, right? That's why I can't raise minimum wage. They raise the goddamn prices and they still fucking fire people. They just don't want to pay us more. It's all bullshit. Someone has to come in here and say enough and really mean it, because it's us. It's ours. It's us. We are those people. It's us. And we have to do it as a unit. It can't be this fucking infighting of you did this and you said this. A shit with like Andrew Schultz, right? They have admitted they were wrong about Donald Trump. And then you hear people going, you don't get to admit you were wrong. We told you you were wrong. First of all, his entire fucking podcast did not vote for Trump. That's number one. Number two, people get to make up their own minds. They get to have their own opinions. We live in a society that does that. Do you think people were happy with Biden? They were furious. That's how we ended up here again. You do not get to tell people that they do not get an opinion. And you also don't get to be the asshole who's like, you can't change your opinion. You cannot win more if you don't bring people over. The independents, the people that didn't vote, and some people that believe in the Republican Party but don't believe in this bullshit. You have to understand that people get to change their minds and understand that things that are going on are wrong. You get to change your minds. Period. So I don't know. That is where I am. So I don't know, maybe liking this, subscribing to this, or commenting on this. I need this to do something, because what if we did something? What if I did something? What if you guys helped me do something to the point where we helped this country? And not in a, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being serious. Like, with the right people, we could do a lot in 4 years. And I hate what's happening in this country. And it wasn't fun, but it wasn't fun before. And then it wasn't fun before that. And at some point it really we have to stop fighting with each other. So, yeah, I want to run for president. So like, subscribe, comment, make this thing go viral, and let's fucking do this shit, man. Cause I want to be president, and I love my life. I love my life in my teeny baby 800 square foot house. And I love my blue collar job of cleaning houses and my yard covered in dog poop and my 3 dogs. And I love my life. But I want to do more. I want to rescue dogs, and I want a country where I know that, oh, and I would melt down all the gold in the Oval Office, and I would 100% use, it's probably gold plated, but I would 100% use all that gold that man has done to that Oval Office. I would use it to save animals. I would start some kind of rescue or a program where we got everyone neutered and spayed on the streets, so that we stopped the stray problem. I would 100% use that money for animals. We got to do something. And I don't know the Democratic Party is, I mean, I hope they win the midterms, and I hope that they're able to say no to him in Congress, but at the same time, he doesn't like the word no, and he finds workarounds. And so, somebody's got to be brave. So why not the girl in the teeny house? So that's it. I appreciate you guys. I hope that you are still indignant and angry. And damn the man, save the empire. I will talk to you. I'm gonna try to do these more. I swear to God. But yeah, talking with someone was fun. But I didn't get out any of my bullshit, so my head has been just as loud. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Happy almost March.